Hey darlings, today I want to talk about how sometimes we can not want to do something because we're not perfect at it. So this has been on my mind more recently because I've been really wanting to run again. It's been one of those things that I've done on and off for most of my life, probably by this point. There have been times when I have run consistently and I decently enjoyed it, but for whatever reason, it's one of those things where I feel like in shape people run, and so when I do run continuously, I feel more in shape. And I'm not great at it. I am very slow, and I try to not say this stuff as much because it just gets stuck in your brain. If you're like, I'm a slow runner, I suck at running, your brain is just like, yep, that's true. And then it's really hard to be able to get better. But yeah, I'm not great at that. I don't know if it's my build. I feel like my lungs are just kind of jacked up from like asthma stuff. But yeah, I've done races and things like that and been towards the back of the pack, and it's but the thing is that I'm still trying. Like, it's good for me. I'm doing this good thing, but then being upset that it's not good enough. I think that's odd. Like, I should be cheerleading myself. I should be thinking, yeah, you're doing it. And also thinking you're getting better and better every time you do it. You know, you're just making your body stronger and faster and building up your cardiovascular system and all that. But I will just find myself not wanting to do it because I'm not like super speedy, and it just feels kind of awkward in my body. Like, I feel sort of like a lame hippopotamus, like kind of like, is that how a hippopotamus moves? Like a lame one? I think that's how it goes. But yeah, and so it just doesn't feel perfect, and so I don't want to do it. But I was thinking that's very silly because I need to do it to get better. So today I busted out old couch to 5K program. I've done it a few times before, but I'm hoping that having something set will help me get better. I'm going to not focus on I'm not going to focus on distance and speed currently. I want to really work up to running consistently for however long. And then being brave enough to look at speed, because I find that like soul crushing. I feel like weighing myself and seeing how fast I run is always just terrible, because I'll think like, oh yeah, I shouldn't weigh that much. Like, it should be, you know, I've trimmed down a bit, and then I'll get weighed at the doctor's office and it's always like 30 pounds more than I think I'm gonna be. And then I'm like, oh, it's clearly all those clothes that I'm wearing and all the water I drank that morning. That's not correct. It probably is. But yeah, and then same thing with running. I feel like I should be just Speedy McGee, just perfectly striding out there like a gazelle. That's not the case, but I need to do it. Because it's funny, I was watching an interview today on impact theory, and was it Robert Greene? I never remember people's names, but there was a thing that came up that was talking about, maybe it was like a belief system that's good to have, that anything you do a ton of, you will eventually master. So you put in all the time, you put in all the effort, and then you'll get better at it. You'll get amazing at it. And so I was thinking, I just need to put in lots of time and I'll get better. And that's the same thing for writing and narrating, because it will really frustrate me that it's not perfect. And it's like, I don't like putting out things that are not perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. And there's always going to be people who do not like or just vehemently hate my stuff, because it's somewhat controversial anyway, and everyone just has different tastes. There have been books I have absolutely loved that other people have absolutely loathe to the very pits of hell and back and wherever. And that's okay. But yeah, and it's funny because when I first started to write, I would make myself feel better because there was a series that was just not literary genius, but I loved the books. They were kind of crazy and out there, but they were hot and they were just really fun. And so I kept trying to tell myself, even if this isn't perfect, even if it's flawed, some people will probably still enjoy it. So just fling it on out there. And it's still hard. It's still really hard because there's always a fear of the people who are going to pick your stuff apart. That's scary. And then I feel like narrating is even worse because it's hard. There are so many tiny little things to pay attention to. There's weird mouth clicks. There's enunciating well enough. There's breathing. There's the amount of pausing. There's all the different voices. There's being consistent. And one thing that drives me crazy is, aside from my first book, all my other books, the main characters are different voices than my natural voice. And so trying to keep that consistent has definitely been challenging. There have been times when I've been listening through and I can tell when I've done like a chunk of chapters at one time and then started up later doing other chapters where the character's voice is slightly different. And I try not to beat myself up about this because I have heard in audiobooks when a narrator is using just their regular voice and you can tell when they have to come back and fix something because it sounds a little bit different. And I always wondered why that would happen, or I'd just be listening and there'd be a sentence that just sounded weird. I was thinking, what is that? It's because the narrator probably found some weird thing after they recorded the entire part. Maybe they said something wrong and then they re-record it, they splice that in, but because they're not reading in that same exact way they were before, it sounds a little bit different. And so I realize like that's just normal, but it's not perfect, so it bothers me when that happens in my own stuff. And things that I never noticed in anyone else's book until I started narrating, like I'll notice in my stuff, but I will notice if I pay attention in other narrators' stuff, like mouth clicks, like these tiny little noises that our mouths make when we just talk naturally. And if I hear it when I'm recording, like I will re-say the thing, but sometimes I don't always hear it, or I don't think it's as bad as it was. And there's like a plugin for removing a lot of that, but it doesn't get all of it. There's some stuff that no matter what I do, I can't seem to fix it, and I've tried. But yeah, again, it's one of those things that's not perfect, and it's so hard to put out there. And then I also think about the confidence thing too, because I've heard people that will say, oh, my book is amazing. You are going to love it. It is so awesome and it's so swell. It's going to change your life. And I was like, how do you have the confidence to do that? Because I'm always afraid that if I say something like that, or I'm like, oh, this is amazing, you're going to love it, that people will be like, oh, Kira, no. Why do you have such unfounded confidence? And I don't want people to do that. But then I also wonder, there's priming. If you do tell people you're going to love it, part of them is going to kind of think like, oh, yeah, I am going to love this. And they're going to be more likely to like it. So it's always so interesting to me to figure out like how much do I share about insecurities and stuff, because I mean, honestly, in general, I think I do a pretty good job. But I know there's room for improvement. And I still despise anything that's not perfect in what I put out in the world. And then in my regular work too, if stuff's not perfect, it just bothers the crap out of me. And I'll be like, why am I even doing this? But it's like, well, you do a really good job. And that's why. And people will enjoy what you do. But yeah, if it's not perfect, it's hard. I don't want to. But I need to, because doing stuff makes you better, gets you closer to perfect, and you need to live your life. You just have to put stuff out there, like these videos, and I keep forgetting to change the thumbnails, and I don't edit them. Maybe someday I will when I have more time, but yeah. Okay, bye.